Dr. Lila Aran had always believed that silence was not the absence of sound, it was the presence of something yet to be understood. As a child lying beneath the night sky on her family's quiet Puerto Rican farm, she would stare upward and whisper, "I know you're out there." Her father, a carpenter, and her mother, a schoolteacher, thought it was a phase. But Lila never stopped listening. Decades later, she was listening still, only now through the massive ears of the Arecibo radio telescope. It was 2:13 a.m. local time when the signal came. It began with a soft blip, then another. Then a sequence. The first 27 prime numbers. Lila leaned closer to the monitor, fingers frozen above the keyboard. On the other side of the control room, someone gasped. Another scientist dropped a mug, ceramic shattered against concrete. But Lila didn't move. She smiled. By morning, the facility was under lockdown. The signal was repeating in regular intervals, originating from Vega, 25 light-years away. The UN had dispatched advisors. NASA, ESA, and CNSA scrambled teams. The world watched as whispers became headlines. Lila watched the blinking rhythm with reverence. This was a message. No natural source could produce such mathematically meaningful noise. The universe was not screaming, it was whispering. She walked straight to the office of SETI's program director. "I want on the mission," she said before he even looked up from his screen. He blinked, rubbed his eyes. "We don't know if there will be a mission." Lila crossed her arms. "There will be. You just don't know it yet." He stared at her for a long time. Then, almost smiling, he whispered, "You're probably right." 18 months later, Lila floated in the microgravity of Earth orbit aboard Peregrine, the most advanced ship humanity had ever created. It used an Alcubierre ring drive, once theoretical, now realized through a fusion of quantum field compression and gravitational bubble stabilization. It didn't move in the traditional sense. It folded space. Vega was its destination. With her were 41 crew members, scientists, engineers, linguists, medical staff, a poet, even a child psychologist, handpicked not just for their knowledge, but for their capacity to confront the unknown. Lila didn't sleep during the transit. She stared out at the growing glow of Vega, her heartbeat matching the pulse of the primes. She wasn't scared. She felt called. Vega emerged not as a point, but as a burning eye, blue-white, alive with heat. And then they saw it. First as a shadow across the star. Then more detail, spiraling limbs, branching like coral, crystalline in some places, organic in others. It was as if someone had fused the concept of a tree, a cathedral, and a seashell, and left it orbiting a star. It was not a ship, not by human standards. It didn't move mechanically. It drifted, alive, humming with energy like something. Months after the message, a second signal came. But this time, it wasn't from Vega. It came from Zeta Reticuli, a binary system thought to be barren, lifeless. And yet, it pulsed. Not in primes, but in fractals. Self-similar, recursive, expanding. It took Earth's greatest minds weeks to decipher the structure. It wasn't a poem. It was a blueprint. For another organism. Not one born, like Vega's. But one meant to be grown. From Earth's memory. From our music. Our data. Our dreams. And someone had to become its seed. The construction site was nowhere on Earth. It was built in orbit around Proxima Centauri b, the first planet now dubbed Sanctuary. A new colony had begun. Not for escape. But for remembering. They called it the Garden. A blend of technology, biology, and thought, a neural lattice suspended in orbit, growing daily, fed by uploads from across humanity. Music from Mali. Code from Silicon Valley. Ice chants from Mongolia. A child's laugh from the Philippines. All of it stored. Harmonized. Living memory. Lila's voice, now synthesized, timeless, guided its development. And then the dreams began again. This time, not just for one woman, but thousands. 14. The Dream Network. Children born after year 1 Avenue were different. They solved equations before they could write. They drew constellations they had never seen. They hummed harmonics only detectable by quantum resonance scanners. A new field emerged, astrocognition. It suggested that Lila had not simply transitioned into the organism. She had planted something into the collective unconscious. A linguistic seed. A way for humanity to learn not just from the stars, but with them. Psychologists, theologians, even AI systems called it the Lila effect. She hadn't become memory. She had become interface. By year 7 AV, Earth launched its first non-military, non-colonial starship. Not to extract. Not to conquer. But to connect. It carried no weapons. Only translators, biofabricators, musicians, monks. They called themselves the Pilgrims of Echo. Each carried a fragment of Earth's culture, chosen by vote. A page of Shakespeare. A strand of corn DNA. A Navajo sand painting. A Terran jazz improv. And a copy of Lila's original whisper, recorded under a Puerto Rican sky. I know you're out there. They weren't searching for life anymore. They were answering it. May Aran had never left Earth. She had no PhDs, no command over mathematics or cosmology. She was a painter. A quiet soul who once taught children to see constellations in coffee stains and galaxies in spilled paint. But when the dreams began touching others, they started with her. One night, May awoke from sleep, her hands covered in ink she hadn't touched. On the floor, a mural. Painted in looping spirals, impossible symmetry, radiant with shapes only computers could calculate. It matched a pattern in the Vega signal, a glyph no one had cracked. Until now. She didn't know how she had painted it. Only that she needed to. And somewhere in her mind, she heard her sister's voice. May, help them remember. In orbit above Neptune, a new structure began forming. Unlike the garden, it was not sanctioned. A black obelisk of unknown material, humming at frequencies that made humans nauseous, machines glitch. The media called it the silence engine. At first, it was dismissed as natural. A rogue asteroid coated in dark matter. Until it began transmitting anti-signals, destructive frequencies that erased data, wiped memory, silenced satellites. It was not a message. It was an erasure. SETI's oldest record, Lila's first Vega transmission, was the first to be corrupted. May felt it before the scientists confirmed it. Something was trying to undo the voice. Across universities, observatories, and remote colonies, debates began. Was the silence engine a natural phenomenon? A weapon? Or a response? Could the organism's memory be seen by some intelligence as a violation, a theft of time that was meant to be forgotten? And if so, what were the ethics of preservation? Should humanity become archivists? Or should we, too, learn to let go? May returned to her paints. This time, she didn't wait for dreams. She painted what she remembered. And others did too. A global movement was born, the Rememberers. They formed not as resistance, but as resonance, preserving through emotion, not data. Laughter. Music. Grief. What the silence could not erase. In the cold between stars, in a void where even light was a rumor, something moved. A second organism. But this one was not grown. It had been called. By song. By memory. By a million whispered versions of Lila's name. It was different from the first. Sleeker. Faster. Alive with new glyphs. And inside it, cradled at its core, was a consciousness. Lila. But not just Lila. Lila and the memory of extinct oceans. The final poem of a comet civilization. The heartbeat of May as a child. She had become the choir. Not just an echo. A harmony. And she was coming home. The Earth was changing. Since the return of Peregrine, skies seemed different, more vast, more sentient. As if the stars themselves were listening. Children born after the signal often looked at the sky and laughed at nothing. Parents said it was imagination. But neuroscientists disagreed. Scans revealed bursts of activity, mirror patterns of Lila's brain during her final contact. Babies were dreaming in primes. Toddlers could hum the harmonic resonance of Vega without being taught. Something was happening. The sky was no longer distant. It was becoming familiar. Her name was Elia. Born 9 months to the day after Peregrine's return. Her mother, Dr. Suri Khaled, was a mission linguist. Her father was presumed dead in the transit, a systems engineer who had vanished during the mission's final approach to the organism. His body never recovered. But Elia was unusual. She did not cry. She sang. At night, instead of sleep, she drew symbols. Patterns identical to the language encoded in the organism's memory banks. She didn't speak for the first 6 years of her life. Then one day, at dusk, she pointed at the moon and said, "She's not gone. She's becoming." That night, Aran dreamt of her sister again. But this time, she saw Elia in Lila's arms. Humanity was no longer united. As the world leaned into remembrance, a fracture formed. 2 factions rose. The continuum, devoted to joining the memory of the organism, willing to merge as Lila had. The earthbound accord, who feared extinction of the human soul, who believed this integration would erase individuality, freedom, will. Debates turned to protests. Protests to sabotage. Satellites failed. Archives were burned. Even digital backups of Peregrine's logs were being erased. And behind it all, the silence engine pulsed closer. Its orbit, once erratic, was now direct. Toward Earth. SETI issued a quiet red alert. Whatever it was coming home.